Daf Kuf Tez Zayin Amud Beis. We'll begin Daf Kuf Tez Zayin Amud Aleph, the Mishnah at the bottom of the Amud. Zok the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel used to say, Kol Shalai Omar, whoever did not say, Shalai Shad Dvarim Me'el Pesach, these three things in Pesach, Lo Yotzi Yedei Chayvos. He has not fulfilled his mitzvah. He's not Yotzi. Ve'elohein, what are these three things? Pesach, Matzah, Mor. It's Pesach, Matzah, Mor. So he has to discuss these three things. He has to, Thesis explains, it says, V'amartem zevach Pesach hu. V'amartem, so Thesis explains, you need an amira. You have to say, the Pesach, Shanu Eichtem. What's the reason? What's the reasoning behind the Korban Pesach? And therefore, since we have a hekesh between Pesach and Matzah and Mor, therefore, you have to say, by all three things, you have to have an amira, you have to discuss it, the reasonings behind it. According to the Chedush Iran, this is a mitzvah l'chadchila. Similarly, the way we have by the mitzvah of sukkah, that there's a mitzvah l'chadchila to have the kavana while we're sitting in the sukkah, but b'diavad is yaitza. According to Taisus, he's not even yaitza b'diavad, he's not yaitza unless he explains these reasonings. So it's Pesach Matzah Mor. Pesach, we say Pesach, we bring the Korban Pesach, Al Shum, Shapaz Amokam, Al Batev Sen Mitzrayim. It's for the reason is that because Rebbeinu Shalom, he passed over the houses of our forefathers in Mitzrayim, and he saved them. Shenem Rav Amatem Zevach Pesach Hul Hashem Asher Pasach. Amatem Zevach Pesach Asher Pasach. Matzah is Al Shum, Shenilav Sen Mitzrayim. We were taken out of Mitzrayim, we were redeemed from Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim. They baked the dough, and it was baked into matzah. Moror al shum shemera Mitzrayim is chaya. We say Mitzrayim to the Mitzrayim, they embittered our lives in Mitzrayim. There's a machlekes in Meforshim. What does it mean that? What is it referring to? Which mitzvah are you not yotze? Is it the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, that if you haven't explained these mitzvahs, you haven't been yotze the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is how the Rambam is mashma? Or does it mean you haven't been properly yotze the mitzvah of Pesach and Matzah Umorah, which is mashma from the Abadrom, that he learns it that way, that it's these particular mitzvahs, unless there's an explanation, you're not yotze these mitzvahs. B'chol dor v'dor, in every generation, a person has to view himself as if he went out of Mitzrayim. Shenemar v'garat lebincha b'yoyim hahu leimor b'avur zeh asa Hashem li b'tzeisim Mitzrayim. You have to tell your children b'yoyim hahu. You have to tell them b'yoyim hahu that because of this, that Hashem did this for me. So therefore, a person has to view himself as he was taken out of Mitzrayim. That's the girsa that we have. The Rambam's girsa is not liras esatzma, but rather laharas esatzma. He has to demonstrate, he has to show things to demonstrate that it's as if he was taken out of Mitzrayim. Lefichach, the Mishnah continues, therefore we are obligated to give thanks, lahalal, to praise, l'shabeach, therefore to glorify, l'shabeach, to praise and glorify, l'roimam, to raise up, to exalt, l'hader, to honor, l'varach, to give a bracha, to bless, l'ale, and to extol, l'kales, misha osa, l'oisenu, v'lanu, eskol, anisim alalu. To the Rebbeinu Shalom, the one that did all this for us, all these great things for us, we also have to praise and talk about it, to extol. We have to ale, to be marbe in these praises. To the Rebbeinu Shalom, who did all this for us. He took us out from slavery to freedom. So we have to praise the Rebbeinu Shalom that he did for us. From sorrow to joy, from mourning to a yomtiv, and from darkness to great light. And from servitude to geula, to redemption, and we say before him, hallelujah. So according to this reading and the way it's read this way, it's v'noimer lefonav halaluka, and we will say in front of him, and let us say before Haluka, which is an introduction to what comes next in the Seder, which is the Halal. But according to the way the Taisus is learning, it's not v'noimar lefonav Haluka, it's not pronounced v'noimar, but v'ne'emar. It's referring to the past, that Hashem took us out, and also He took us out of Mitzrayim, and it was said, v'ne'emar, and it was said, when He took us out of Mitzrayim, there was a Kriyas Yam Suf, it was said over there, the Shira al Hayam, and it was said the Shira al Yam, which is therefore not connected to what comes next. What comes next is the Halal, but this is referring to something in the past. It's referring to the Shira al Yam by Kriyas Yamsuf. So we say the Halal in portions and segments. Where does he say the first segment of the Halal? Till that section, that's where we say it to. That he says it only till the section of Chalomish that he turned the stones into a into a flowing fountain. And after that he says achasima. He says achasima with a geula. He says Asher Golon Regalas how we say in Mitzrayim that we give a brach to the Rebbeinu Shalom that He redeemed us. He took us out of Mitzrayim. He took us out, and also our forefathers and us also out of Mitzrayim. And he does not make a concluding bracha. Rabbi Kiva Haimer says, we continue, we add on also that this segment, that so Hashem, our Hashem and Hashem of our forefathers, should bring us to other Yom Tovim, that will come to us with peace. Smeichim bevinyan irecha, will be gladdened with the rebuilding of your city. Vasosim b'avodesecha, and joyful in the avodah and the service of the Beis Hamikdash. The noichel sham min ha-psachim, min ha-zvachim, min ha-psachim, and we'll eat from the zvachim and the psachim, from the korbanos and the korban Pesach. The other korbanos we'll explain in a minute. And over here, ad baruch ato Hashem Gol Yisrael. We do make a chasima, Baruch At Hashem Gol Yisrael, meaning according to Rabbi Kiva, since we add on all these additional expressions, therefore it's a bracha arechta, it's a long form bracha, where we have to add on therefore a bracha, a baruch at the end. Meaning, according to Rabbi Tarfon, it's a short form bracha. We don't have to add on an additional baruch. But according to Rabbi Kiva, it's a long form bracha, and therefore we have to be chaysem at the end. So we say the nusach over here, min ha-zvachim u'min ha-psachim. From the Zvachim, what is the Zvachim? The Zvachim is referring to the Korban Chagiga. Taisa says that we eat the Chagiga with the Korban Pesach, so that the Korban Pesach should be Nechal ala Soiva, that it should be eaten when we're sated, and therefore we say Min Azvachim u'min ha-psachim. We bring the Korban Chagiga, we eat it first, and so that the Korban Pesach is Nechal ala Soiva. So that's the correct order, Min Azvachim Psachim. However, as some point out, the Maril points out that is on regularly, normally. But if Yudal, it falls out on Shabbos, and we can't be makar of the Korban Chagiga. The Chagiga is Yudalit. The Chagiga is not Doicha Shabbos. The Chagiga Yudal is not Doicha Shabbos. So therefore, in that case, we do not bring the Korban Chagiga. We're not makar, and we don't eat it with the Korban Pesach. So there, the correct nusach is that if the Seder night is Motzei Shabbos, it's min ha-psachim, min ha-zvachim, because we're eating first the Korban Pesach, the Korban Chagiga, the Zvachim, the Korban Chagiga will be brought only on Chol HaMoed, it will be brought later. So therefore, then we change the nusach. Zok the Gemara, Omer Rava tzarech she'omer v'oisanu hoitzi misham. You have to say that Hashem took us out from there, that He took us out from there, He took us out. That we have to view ourselves as if we were taken out of Mitzrayim. Omer Rava says, matzah tzarech like bia. When with the matzah, you have to pick it up. When you say matzah, that we're eating this matzah al shema, the matzah has to be picked up. more tzorach lagbia. And similarly, the more, also when you say al shumma, when you explain the reasoning for the more, you also have to pick it up. V'asar ein tzorach lagbia. But the meat, that when we explain the Pesach, the Korban Pesach, you don't have to pick it up v'lo yoed. And not only that, you shouldn't pick it up because because if you do, it looks like it's mamish the Korban Pesach, and it looks like you're having Korban Pesach, the Korban, you're eating the Korban outside of Yerushalayim, so you dafka should not pick it up. Somebody is blind, he is potter from reciting the Agora. Why is that? The Torah says, because of this, on account of this, Hashem took me out of Mitzrayim. And it says, by the Ben Saira Moira, it says, it says, they say, this is our son. When they bring the son, the Ben Saira Moira, they bring it to Best, and they said, this son, he doesn't listen to us, he's Zoel v'Seveh. So Malam Pradlasuma, just like we over there exclude from the din of Ben Sayer Myra a parent who's blind, because they have to point to the son. They say this is our son, so they have to see him. Avkan Pradlasuma. Here also, so we say that the Zeh, Bavur Zeh, regarding the Mitzvah Agora, therefore excludes also blind people are not Bachuyah. More Ini Vahama Marema. I asked the Rabban of Rav Yosef's yeshiva, Man the Omer Agarata Rav Yosef. Who's the one that said the Agara, that recited the Agara in the house of Rav Yosef? Omer Rav Yosef. They said Rav Yosef said, Man the Omer Agarata Rav Sheshes. Who's the one that said in the Agara Rav Sheshes? Omer Rav Sheshes. And now both Rav Yosef and Rav Sheshes were blind. So if they're potter, how can the ones that be yoytze with their reciting of the Haggadah, they're potter? So Shemei Kaina, you can be mitzi somebody if a person is b'chuyev, it's a bar chiyuva. But if you say only that sumim are potter and they're not bar chiyuva, how can they be mitzi acherim? More answers, because of Rabbanan, matzah bisman is the Rabbanan. They hold that today the mitzvah of matzah is the Rabbanan. And if the matzah is the Rabbanan, bisman hazeh, since we don't have a Korban Pesach, if matzah is the Rabbanan, and therefore Haggadah is the Rabbanan. And therefore, they hold that it's the Rabbanan, and therefore we say that they were, as far as the Rabbanan are concerned, they are considered a bar chiyuva. It's only midaraisa that they're potter, but midrabanan they're considered to be bar chiyuva, and they could be mitzi achirim. So Mechlal, the Ravacha Bar Yaakov Kasar Matzah B'Zman Deraisa, means to say that Ravacha Bar Yaakov himself held that Matzah B'Zman Zeh is a Deraisa, even though there's no Korban Pesach, it's a Deraisa. But Ravacha Bar Yaakov who Damar Matzah B'Zman Zeh Derabanan. So he held that he himself holds no. He himself said even Matzah B'Zman Zeh is a Derabanan. The Gemara answers, Kasavar called it Tikkun Rabbanan, came Deraisa Tikkun. He held that whatever the Rabbanan or Misakin is came Deraisa, and therefore, if Midaraisa they're potter, he held that the Rabbanan they should also be potter. Rav Sheshes or Rav Yosef Nami, Vada called it Tikkun Rabbanan came Deraisa Tikkun. Well, how were they mitzi? How don't they hold that this principle that and whatever the Rabbanan Masakin is in the Raisa, so how could therefore, if they're potter in the Raisa, they be potter in the Rabbanan, how can they be Moitze Acherim? So how were they able to Moitze them? Ach Yashta. Bishlama Hasam. No. They say that we don't compare this whole principle they argue with. They say we don't compare the Haggadah, the mitzvah of Sipri Sis Mitzrayim to Ben Seir Myra. Over there we darshan this to exclude assuming blind people by Ben Saramais and Moran, because it should have said Benenu Hu. That would be the proper way to explain it, Benenu Hu. And it deviated, and it says Uksi Benenu Zeh, and it says Benenu Zeh rather than Hu Shmamina Pratlasumund also. And therefore we would say, therefore it's excluding assuming a blind parent, they have to be able to point to the son, Benenu Zeh. So, But over here, the appropriate way of writing it is Bavur Zeh, because of this. This is the way to write it. So you don't see any deviation over here, and there's therefore no reason to exclude a summa from this mitzvah. They argue on the basic comparison to a ben Sayer Meir. Over there, since it deviates, it should have said Banenu Hu, it said Zez Prat L'Sumen. But this is over here, Bavur Zeh, also Hashem Li. That's the way it should be written. You don't see any indication over here that we're excluding a summa, a blind person. But over here, it's Aval Hacha Ila Bavur Zeh, Ma Lichta. So Ela Bavur Matzo Moru Dosa. Therefore, what it means is to say that he should tell his son it's because of this, because of the matzah, and more because of this, Hashem took me out of Mitzrayim, so that I should eat and be mekayim the mitzvah matzah more. So they held that there is no exclusion over here for the summa, and that's why they were able to be mitzvah the other people by the Haggadah.